Hey there, it is 1.3, Step 3, Analyzing Poems, and our learning target is students will be able to understand figurative language, including symbolism and simile, and connect these to the play. So let's take a look at what we've got here. Poetry rules, love poetry. I hope you guys do too. But this is kind of punny because it means not only that it's the best, but also that there are certain rules to poetry. Poetry is written in lines, not sentences, and so it's the poet's choice of where to end a line. That's where a line break comes. A poet uses language creatively to get deeper meaning across something that isn't explicitly stated. And so there is a difference between the literal, the straightforward, factual, versus the figurative, which is suggestive, imaginative. Symbolism is one thing representing a bigger idea. We talked about that in the last video. Simile is another good thing for you to know in order to understand this poem. A simile is a comparison between two unlike things, using the words like or as or something similar. The one I always use is, this school is like a prison. At first, when you think of a school and a prison, you don't see a lot of commonalities. So this is a comparison between two things that are unlike. And the word like makes it a simile. And then when you think about it a little bit more, you're like, oh, there are some connections, aren't there? Okay, so those are some rules of poetry. And we've got some images here to remind us of the kinds of symbols that we might see, like the dove as a symbol of peace and the crow a symbol of death or raven, etc. All right, Harlem is a poem by Langston Hughes, and here's a picture of Langston Hughes. Let me get my face out of here. And so Langston Hughes is described in your packet. He wrote this poem, Harlem, in 1951, and he was an important part of the Harlem Renaissance. That's what we call it now. And it was a time period in the early 20th century that started in Harlem, which is part of New York City, where African-American artists, writers, musicians were making art for art's sake, for their own community, and were starting to get celebrated for it. And so it's considered to be sort of an important time of art flourishing among African Americans in New York City, and it affected the rest of the country. And Langston Hughes is definitely the most important member of that time period, of that movement. He is, the poem has the name of the play in it. This is where the poem, or this is where the play gets its name. So this poem is the namesake of the play, A Raisin in the Sun. And as you read, if you would watch for these things, why call this poem Harlem, first of all? What kind of tone? The tone is the speaker's attitude. What kind of tone comes across from the similes, the comparisons used in the poem? And then what can this poem tell us about the play, A Raisin in the Sun? Consider why Hurston uses it to start the play. All right, let's take a look at the poem now. What happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun? Or fester like a sore and then run? Does it stink like rotten meat? Or crust and sugar over like a syrupy sweet? Maybe it just sags like a heavy load. Or does it explode? All right, now you have some questions to answer. The first one is about the title. The question is, what is it and what does it make you think or feel? Well, the title is here, Harlem. And for me, that name, I've been there. I've been to this neighborhood in Manhattan of New York City. And so for me, it makes me think of that area. What does it make you think of? Do you automatically think of it being a predominantly African-American community? I think that might be something that people think. I'm not sure. What else comes to your mind? This is just personal that you can answer. The next question is about paraphrasing. So put the poem in your own words. These are some words that are maybe difficult that you would need to replace with something else that is more common for you to use. So words like deferred, meaning put on hold, fester, get infected, run, that's talking about the sore, so it'd be like weeping pus, kind of gross, I know. Crust and sugar over, like a syrupy sweet, meaning develop a scab, like the coating of a dessert that's syrupy, that's drying. So you right now paraphrase the poem in your own words. You're going to do it to the right of the poem in your packet. It starts on one page and then it goes on to the next. Oh, one more. Sags, meaning falls. After you've paraphrased it, the next step is to pick at least one word that has a meaning beyond the obvious. And what does it make you think or feel? Maybe take a look at the word dream. That's an important word. The word sore, that is what this dream being postponed is being compared to. Rotten meat, that's a really powerful image in the poem. Maybe a load, it's another thing that's being compared to this deferred dream. Or explode, the final hypothetical action of the play or poem. Another thing that you need to do is look for a shift. Where is there an important change in the poem and what is the effect? Look for words like or, we've got at least 3 of those, while, but, or other transition words. The next thing to do is to look at the opening and ending lines. List them and comment on how they are similar or different. Here is the opening line and the second opening line. So maybe these 2 would be worth mentioning, because if you look at the bottom, the ending line, that second line is a bit similar to the end, offering ideas of what happens when a dream is postponed. The last thing, we got 2 more. Theme is the second to the last. How does the poem connect to the theme of social justice being denied Americans? Theme is, getting at the larger idea, and this is the theme that we're really focusing on, social justice being denied or postponed. All right, how about the last one, our central assertion? What does the poem mean, and how does it connect to our essential question about dreams being put on hold? Feel free to use a sentence starter. The speaker of Harlem implies, suggests, and then a view on a dream or being denied social justice by. This is the main point that you think the poet is making or that you took away from this poem. Use the sentence starter to help you out here. Good luck as you finish this up.